If you have not picked up this book and you're really into plants, if you're really into herbal medicine or interested by it, intrigued by it, this is definitely one that you want to get a hold of. Hey friends, I'm coming to you today to share with you something that's on my mind. So if you're new here, my name is Taylor Sievers. I am an author of fiction and nonfiction. I'm also a flower farmer, a mom, wife. We have a cattle and grain farm here in southwestern Illinois. So I don't know if you've seen, but in the news there has been an article and video circulating talking about a 57-year-old woman who got very, very sick from taking some turmeric supplement pills. And in the video, there was some other talk about other people being affected by some of these herbal supplements as well. So I thought today would be a good day to review a book that I really enjoyed reading, and I think it's very pertinent to today and pertinent to this information, and that is Following the Herbal Harvest by Ann Armbrecht. So if you have not picked up this book and you're really into plants, if you're really into herbal medicine or interested by it, intrigued by it, this is definitely one that you want to get a hold of. I actually heard about this book because I am on an email list for Rosalie Deforest. I'm probably not saying that right, but she is an herbalist and has many years teaching herbalism, and then also she was a clinical herbalist for a while, and she recommended this book because she interviewed Anne, and so I quickly purchased it, and it was very, very eye-opening to me. So today I just wanted to take some time to review it and explain why I liked it and why I think you might like it too. So before we begin, I want to address this whole diet, herbal supplement, pill kind of thing that we have going on in our country, maybe in other countries. Wellness is a huge thing in the US. There's people talk about how lately there's this whole big pharma versus big wellness debate going on. And I do agree. I definitely think that we should be getting back to maybe not taking so many pharmaceutical drugs, but I also do think that people are jumping into the big wellness sphere without really doing some research on maybe how these supplements may be affecting you. First and foremost, as someone that is studying herbalism, I'm actually been enrolled in a course through the Herbal Academy. I am learning as I learn, and as I have studied, I am learning more and more how serious herbs can be. How serious that, why learn about herbalism and get into herbalism if you just think it's something that's like, oh, it's just fun and trendy. No, we want to learn about herbs because we want them to help us, right? We want to include them in our diets. We want to use them as medicine. So we should be taking them seriously. We shouldn't just be saying, oh, drink this tea and you're going to feel so much better. No, it's more than that. Like we can use these medicines or herbs in general just as food that we intake that to help support our bodies. But we also need to understand that, we can possibly mess up some things in our bodies too if we're not researching properly. So a good example of this is St. John's wort. St. John's wort is used a lot for depression and in the herbal community. There's lots of other, this is not herbal advice or medical advice at all, but in the past and in the future and today, it has been used for kind of the melancholy, the depressive natures and all of that. So, but it can interfere, like you don't want to also be on an antidepressant or something like that while you're taking it. And it can affect other parts of your body. If you have certain conditions, you may not want to ingest that. But then I've seen where people that are, I guess a lot of herbalists like to term them as the new COVID herbalists, like people that got really into herbalism when COVID hit, are now like shouting from the rooftops, oh, you should drink this tea or ingest this herb. And they don't really know a lot about it and they haven't worked with it a lot, or they haven't worked with people that have worked with it a lot. And so it can be really dangerous, basically. Not saying that a pharmaceutical drug can't be dangerous as well, because there are side effects, there are warnings. A lot of times pharmaceutical drugs, how they can be dangerous is just because they're so concentrated. When we're ingesting herbs, a lot of times we're ingesting the whole plant or like a big portion of the plant. We're not just concentrating it down. And so it's not as concentrated. So you may have to ingest the herb more in order to see these side effects, instead of just like taking it once and feeling something. Or if you're wanting to treat a certain condition, you may have to ingest that herb several times before you're actually affecting that condition. So again, not medical advice. You definitely need to be researching things with herbs. But I just felt called to respond to this article because I do see with people seeming to not trust media, seeming to not trust their doctors, seeming to not trust pharmaceutical companies, and so on. It doesn't mean that everything on the other side is correct and true for you, or that you don't need to do a little bit of research. Like, this isn't just some like, oh, let me frolic in the forest and pick some plants type thing. It is serious. And I think as herbalists, I don't really want to call myself that yet, but I am studying it. And as herbalist, if I was speaking for the community, I think we want to be taken seriously. We want people to understand that they can heal their bodies using herbs, and you don't have to just take a pill and deal with these other side effects. You can do other things to support your body. And so where this book comes into play, so Anne starts out, she's talking about experiences that she's had in the herbal world. She's studied under Rosemary Gladstar, who is like a really noted herbalist today and has been for quite some time. And she's kind of addressing how, like, we should be including herbs in our diet, in our life. There's so much healing that we can have from herbs. But also, she's talking about real things in this book. She's following the supply chain of herbs. So a lot of the herbs in the world are grown in places that are overseas, maybe not in the US. Now, there is a big resurgence of people growing herbs here, but we source a lot of herbs from other places. And so she went through and followed the herbal harvest. She went through and went to these places and saw how herbs were grown, how they were harvested, how they were bagged up, how they were processed, how they were shipped. And it's not always so pretty, guys. Like, it is, I think if there's one takeaway from this book, it's that you need to be doing your due diligence when you're buying from these companies. Whether it's a supplement company or just a bulk herb company, you need to know that they're doing their due diligence by harvesting herbs that are fresh, that processing them in a way that the freshness is intact, and making sure that when they're shipping them, it's not something where it's a bag of herbs on the side of the road with manure and dust and everything, like an open bag with just all of this stuff flying around, and then it gets shipped to the US in a little pretty package, and you open it up and you're like, oh, I'm gonna try my herbs, and it may have lost its medicinal qualities by that point, or any health benefits. It's probably got a lot of like mold in it, or maybe some contaminants, and it may not even be the herb that you purchased in the first place. Like, there can be some adulteration that happens. There can be some dark things that happen in that world. So it's very, very important to know where your company is sourcing their herbs and how they are sourcing them. There are places in the world where herbs are being over harvested. They're only found in the wild, maybe, and so these herb hunters are going around and collecting them, and then they might be damaging damaging the environment by doing so, and then also over harvesting to the point where some of these herbs may be endangered or gone pretty soon. So she also talks about that a lot too. And so this was just a really interesting read. I will say one thing that struck me was that I feel like she left the book kind of open-ended at the end. I felt like at the end there was no like ultimate conclusion to things. You know, she's talking about things like we need to get back to using herbs in our daily diet and trying to use them to heal our bodies when we have a problem instead of focusing on these pharmaceutical manufactured drugs. At the same time, we need to be aware that in these places where a lot of these herbs are grown and produced, they're very poor areas and there's not a lot of work. There's not a lot of, sometimes people may be taken advantage of as well. So investing in companies where they also invest back into the local communities of these areas is super important. If they invest in these people that invest in their employees, then you're going to have a better product overall. I think that's kind of what she would say that she's saying in this book. And also, promoting better industry practices here in the US too. Like, how do we cultivate some of these herbs in the best way possible so that we're not, that we're producing a superior product and that it's actually doing what it's meant to do, and it's not, maybe it's grown well, but it's poorly harvested and it's not processed well either. So it's just, I think there's no one right answer. I guess at the end of this book, there's no one right answer that she's necessarily proposing. It's more of like, this is the way situations are. I think this is where we need to be, but how do we bridge that gap? We're not quite there yet. And so there needs to be more conversation around it. And I think this book is a great conversation starter because there is a nuance to all of this. Supply chains are hard when you're dealing with a lot of products, right? And as people desire more herbal supplements and so on in their daily life, it can be challenging to deliver the products that we need to deliver in a timely manner, in the most effective way as well. So it's a really good read. So she has a whole chapter on the herb industry talking about it. And again, it's kind of like what I said about the whole book in general. It's like she found some really interesting things out about companies and just about the supply chain in general. So a lot of times maybe the herbs were harvested in one area, then they're trekked to another area to be processed further, and then they're trekked to somewhere else that gets packaged, and then they're trekked to somewhere else that actually sells them. So herbs can actually have such a long time on the shelf, essentially, or time since they've been harvested before they get to a bag that you've bought. Some of these companies, like they have all a clean facility. They know how to identify herbs. They're very professional and they've been doing this for a long time. So it's not necessarily that it's bad, and the herbal supplement industry is not that it's necessarily wholly bad, but then there are some levels where it's like, we need to maybe think about how has it come to this, right? How has it come to a point where people just used to grow kitchen gardens out their back door with whatever they needed and had that connection with the plant. And then now we have this just large industrial process that people don't even realize where any of this has come from, who's touched it, and so on. And so, or the sacrifices that have been made by the community and so on. So I know I haven't done justice because there's like a lot more that I could share in here. I highlighted a lot of portions in the book, but this was a really great read. And anybody that loves plants, into taking supplements or herbs, should read this book. I think it'll be really eye-opening. And then if you want to hear more from her, she actually had a great interview with Rosalie de la Forêt. I'm I'm not really good at pronouncing her name. I'm sorry, Rosalie. But she has a great podcast and great YouTube channel. And she had a really great interview with her. So that is my take for today. I hope that you guys pick up a copy of the book. So I'm hoping to review more books like this. So if you have any books similar to this or that you think that would be worth a read, please drop them in the comments. I would love to read them and talk about them or glean some information from them. And if you've read this book, please drop it in the comments and let people know what you felt about it, or let me know what you felt about it and whether you thought it was a good read or not. Again, I invite you to, if you're really interested in the world of herbalism, I implore you to just do a little bit of research before you start going hog wild. There are some really safe herbs that you can get started with, and Rosemary Gladstar, I have a couple of her books, but she is a really great place to start. I feel like she is very good at laying the foundation for how to use herbs in your daily life. And she also has a lot of experience. Like, she has written a lot of books. She has started a company. She's done a lot of things in the world. So like she has a lot of experience. And then there's others out there. As you kind of travel into the world of herbalism, you'll learn more about these other people as well. And it's always worth following them because you can always learn more. And so we're taking some of these courses. Like, I'm taking one through the Herbal Academy, but when I finish it, I definitely want to take another one from somebody else just to see what maybe I've missed, or just to kind of broaden my knowledge, if that makes sense. So anyways, the best way to get started with herbs is just in your kitchen. I love to use oregano, thyme, basil, all of that. If you felt like this video was helpful, please like and share it, comment, let me know what you thought or think. And I will be back soon talking about some other books that you may find interesting. I would love for you to subscribe if you have a chance. And thanks for watching. See you guys.